Chris Leslie is the Labour MP for Nottingham East. He's also a former Shadow Chancellor, not previously a fan of Jeremy Corbyn, and he's here. Morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you reckon about him now?
Well, look, I think we undoubtedly did a lot better amongst perhaps younger people. I think we won some good gains up in Scotland. I think, we ran quite a solid and effective campaign over the course of the election,
wasn't it?
The election process. But my worry is, and I'm afraid there's always a but with these things, we lost the election, and people waking up today are seeing a Conservative Prime Minister in number 10. And I'm sorry if that sounds a bit sort of miserable, but I'm thinking about my constituents in Nottingham East, 8,000 children in poverty, 2,500 people unemployed, 1,600 victims of crime every single month. They do not need a Conservative government. It's bad for them. And so I'm always wanting to ask, what more should we be doing in order to win a majority Labour government?
What a lot of Labour supporters might say is, well, that's a fair question for later on. But at the moment, hang on a second, Jeremy Corbyn won 40% of the vote, beating Ed Miliband, beating Gordon Brown, beating Tony Blair in 2005. He got the biggest proportionate increase in the vote since Clement Attlee. It is time for people like you to recognise that, salute him, congratulate him.
There's fantastic results in some of those constituencies where there was all sorts of speculation about what would be the result, and I think I'm particularly relieved we've got a lot of my parliamentary colleagues back. What are we at? 262. But the Conservatives got 318 seats. That means that they are going to be able to form a government. And so I think, yes, we've got to recognise we did well, particularly in some of those inner cities.
But you also recognise Jeremy Corbyn did well, whereas people said that he wouldn't, including you. You said he wasn't a credible Prime Minister. He actually proved you all wrong.
Well, except we haven't won that election. He did very well in a lot of areas where we've got some good enthusiasm. In city centre Nottingham, for instance, I think we had a lot of unity between people who really, really wanted to see a change, and that was fantastic. But I come back to the point, we haven't won that election. We shouldn't pretend that this is a famous victory. It is good as far as it's gone, but it's not going to be good enough. And 5 years of Conservative government, I just can't, I'm afraid, be a cheerleader for that particular outcome, because this was an open goal for all of us. We should have been getting in there.
So someone else could have won. Labour could have won under another.
I've never known a more beatable Prime Minister than Theresa May. Brittle. I think very, very wobbly and shaky.
Under another leader, Labour would have won.
I think I will never apologise for my view, which is, yes, you've got to, of course, inspire people. Absolutely, and we haven't done that well enough in the past. But you've also got to convince them of your credibility, that you can actually move from protesting about the government into actually being the government.
Is Jeremy Corbyn now...
Those are the questions we've really got to ask ourselves. If we fail to ask those questions, we may well, at the next general election, get another 262. We can pat ourselves on the back about that. Of course, that's better, but it's just not good enough.
Is he now a credible Prime Minister?
Look, I think that a lot of people do see him as a credible Prime Minister.
Do you?
I want to see him now thinking about the lessons from those areas where we didn't do well, the questions that a lot of people have.
You're not saying that he is a credible Prime Minister. What people listening to this interview will say, well, Chris Leslie and possibly others on the Labour right, as it were, do not believe Jeremy Corbyn is a credible Prime Minister.
We're in an era of open, honest politics, of course, right?
So I'm
not going to pretend that I have suddenly changed my views about this. You know that I have got disagreements with Jeremy on particular issues, whether it's security, economy. I think we're past the period where you should be asking people to pretend that they have got different views. I respect Jeremy's views. He respects my views, actually, and we went through this election quite united. But you don't think he's a credible Prime Minister? And we've got to make sure that we learn the lessons so that we can go forward. We didn't win this election, and we've still got more to do. And I think we've got to get into the sort of mode of learning lessons. Yes, congratulating those of us who've done it very well, and brilliant that there are a lot of people enthused and wanting to see a change of government. Neither left or right was trusted sufficiently in this election, and we have to, I think,
like
go
you
further.
And Yvette Cooper and others, if you don't serve now in the shadow cabinet, what are they going to think about your reaction to what was a very successful night for Labour? They're going to think that you're turncoats, that you're just not in it for the broader party.
Well, of course we're all working in this together, But
Well, not
I think
if you won't serve in his shadow cabinet.
no. Look, for a start, I don't think necessarily Jeremy's going to be ringing me up and asking.
But if he did, you'd say no.
Cabinet. My worry is
If you did,
listen,
if he did ring you, would you say no?
my worry is that if I were to serve in the shadow cabinet, there'd come a moment where something would come up that I disagree with, and these are my principles, whether it is to do with security or the running of the economy, and I might have to then resign. Who knows what happens? I don't think we should be putting people in positions where you get into that situation. Of course, I wish the shadow cabinet well. I want us to do well, but I am never going to give in arguing for what I believe is the pathway to a majority Labour government. That's what my constituents want. All my constituents knew my views about how I think the Labour Party should be appealing to the country, and I've been re-elected on that basis, and I'm going to continue to make sure that we strive for better, because just accepting what might be a sort of okay result with 262 MPs, much better than it was, I don't think is as good as we should be. We've got a lot more to do. Yes, inspiring, that is, I think, where we've got some good strengths, but we've got to tackle those areas of credibility, the concerns that a lot of people had, particularly in what you might call, some people call the centre ground of British politics, where there is a consensus. People don't necessarily want high party political ideology. They want politicians coming together and showing practically we can work together for the good of the country.
Chris Leslie, thank you.